Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so what if I told you there was one single, kind of elegant equation that could define everything in existence? I'm talking everything, from the smallest particle to the biggest galaxy. Well, that is the absolutely mind-bending idea we are diving into today. I mean, just stop for a second. Look around you. The chair you're sitting on, maybe the coffee cup on your desk, even the thoughts running through your head right now. What makes any of it real? Have you ever wondered what the fundamental condition for just existing even is? Well, we're going to dig into this fascinating paper by Phan, which argues that there is one simple rule, one core condition that governs absolutely everything that is, was, or ever will be. So at the heart of this whole theory is this one deceptively simple equation. It's called the axiom of existence. And to really get a grip on its power, we just need to break it down into its three main parts. First up, we've got X. Now, you can just think of X as a placeholder for literally anything you can imagine that could possibly exist. Seriously, it could be a quantum field, a planet, or even an idea. It's any potential state or configuration in the entire universe. Next, we have the operator, which is written as this fancy U. This U represents the fundamental laws of nature, the built-in rules that tell X how it's supposed to change or evolve or behave. It's kind of like the source code for that specific thing. And when we put them all together, we get this axiom: UX equals X. So what does that actually mean? In plain English, it means a thing gets to be real only if applying its own rules to it leaves it exactly the same. If it's perfectly stable, if it's consistent with its own fundamental nature, boom, it's granted existence. So in this view, existence is basically stability. Okay, I know that sounds pretty abstract, right? So let's use an analogy to make it stick. Picture a vortex, like a whirlpool in a river. The individual water molecules, they're constantly changing, flowing in and out, never the same for more than a moment. But the vortex itself, that swirling pattern, it stays there, it persists. According to this theory, that stable pattern is what truly exists, not the temporary stuff that's just passing through it. All right, so that's the theory. But does this one simple idea actually hold up in the real world? Well, this is where the theory's ambition just goes off the charts, as it claims to connect all these wildly different fields of science. Let's start small with physics. Here, our thing, our X, is an electron's quantum state, and the rule, or U, is the famous Dirac equation. So why does an electron exist? Because its quantum state is a perfectly stable, unchanging solution to that equation. It completely satisfies the UX equals X rule, basically earning its spot in reality. Okay, now let's zoom way, way out to the cosmic scale. A spiral galaxy with its beautiful structure exists for the exact same reason. It is a stable pattern, Rx, that has settled into a nice equilibrium under the laws of gravity. That's its U. The overall pattern just persists, even as stars are constantly being born and dying inside of it. And this is where it gets super relevant to today: artificial intelligence. You could say a fully trained AI model exists because its internal network weights, that's its X, have finally found a stable solution. The learning algorithm, its U, has run its course and doesn't need to change them anymore. The whole process of machine learning is basically a search for a state where UX equals X. And get this, even something as abstract as a memory can be seen this way. The memory, our X, is a stable, self-reinforcing pattern of neurons firing in your brain. The U, that's your brain's own set of processing rules. That memory sticks around because when your brain applies its rules to that pattern, it doesn't erase it, it actually strengthens it. So, let's take a step back. What does all of this really mean? Well, the consequence of having this one universal rule is a really profound and, frankly, radical shift in how we think about reality itself. This whole idea leads to a massive inversion of how we normally see the world. We usually think that things, planets, particles, people, exist first, and then we go and discover the laws that they happen to follow. This theory completely flips that on its head. It argues that the fundamental laws, the U's, exist first, like a kind of cosmic rulebook, and only the things that are perfect, stable solutions to those rules are even allowed to pop into existence. The source material puts it so plainly and powerfully with this quote: Reality isn't the cause of the laws, it's the result of them. The objects we see all around us are just the stable answers to some kind of universal mathematical test. But it doesn't just stop there with this big philosophical idea. The theory actually proposes a final, powerful way to define reality itself, as a direct mathematical measurement. To do this, the paper introduces something called the existence metric. Now, don't let the formula scare you. All this equation, mx equals absolute value ux minus x, is measuring the difference between a thing, x, and what it should be according to its own rules, ux. You can think of it as a score for how much something deviates from a perfect, stable state. It's basically a score for how unreal something is. So, what does it take to be truly real? What's the magic number? According to this theory, the only things that fundamentally exist are the ones where that existence metric, that deviation score, is exactly 0. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The entire universe, from the tiniest particle to the largest galaxy, is simply the complete set of all solutions where the answer to this existence equation is 0. Existence isn't some mysterious property that something has. It's just the state of being a perfect, unwavering solution to a universal rule. So if this theory holds up, then reality is just the collection of all perfect solutions to a universal equation, which of course leaves us with one heck of a question to ponder. If the entire universe is just the solution to an equation, who wrote it?